Welcome to Moments with Marianne. This is your host, Marianne Pastana, and we're here today with special guest, Abi Levine, who's here to share with us the science of manifestation. So are you looking to create real abundance in your life? Well, today's guest is here to share with us just that. From unloved, homeless foster child to a money manifesting queen, Abi Levine has not only built a significant income for herself as a single mom, but also helped her clients make over $1.5 billion in 4 years, when most of them started at less than $5,000 a month. She specializes in money mindset and manifestation, hanging out in the sweet spot between science and magic. So welcome to the show, Abi Levine.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, what an honor it is to have you here and to talk about your work. My goodness, a lot of times when people think of manifestation, they think of The Secret or setting in their, like they're hanging out on their sofa and they're visioning checks arriving in the mail, which seems a bit far-fetched for maybe those that aren't really doing some of the work. So, how would you say there's actual science behind it? Can you share that with us?
Oh, yes, this is one of my favorite topics. So, what's so fascinating is that every part of manifestation is actually based in science. And now we might not have known that for the last 2 million years, but now that science has started to catch up with with technology, we've got technology advances that are able to track things that we never could before. We're able to track manifestation all the way through from the physiology, biology, how it works in your brain, what happens in your energy. Then, once your energy leaves your body, and we're not talking about woo woo energy, we're talking about the actual particles of your energy that can be read on a scan that are physical, that can be measured, and that are then operating within the laws of physics with all of the other particles that exist in the world, right? And it's just so fascinating how this whole thing can be tracked. So it can be leveraged. We can actually use it now to our advantage.
Well, I think it's so fascinating that there's so much science that backs this now, where before
Right.
there was a lot of faith and belief and people had their experiences. So,
Yes.
do you feel like science is finally catching up to where, where the faith and belief kind of come together?
Yes, yes, exactly. That's exactly right. For the longest time, I used to refer to myself as someone who had one foot in science and one foot in magic. But now, because you can track manifestation all the way through science, it doesn't require any belief at all. Like, you don't have to suspend your beliefs. You don't have to feel like you're throwing spaghetti against the wall or sending out a magical wish to some unknown being and hoping that that being is going to pick up your wish and grant it. Maybe it's they're feeling benevolent that day. Like, you don't have to rely on any of that stuff, which is so fantastic. So essentially, what's happening, I mentioned that, we have our energy that is radiating out of us. Essentially, every time one of our cells does a metabolic process to turn food into energy to keep our body alive, right? The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. We remember that from biology. Every time that happens, the cell actually leaks a little bit of energy. So as that energy is being created, there's some energy that's leaking out. Now, because we have 32 trillion cells, that energy leak turns into a whole energy wave. And that wave can be read on a scan called a spectrometer. And here's the fascinating thing: the spectrometer, the units of measurement is hertz, which is why we refer to our energy wave as frequency, because radio waves are also measured in hertz. It is actually a unit of frequency that is emitting from our body. It's a physical thing that can be measured, which is cool. And then our particles are pinging out. And then what's happening is that, because of a physics process called cohesion, the other particles that are like our particles are being magnetized to us. And this is where the saying like attracts like, your vibe attracts your tribe. What that means, it's very, very literally pointing to the physics of whatever energy, because your energy is made up of particles, whatever particles you are radiating, they're magnetizing back to you particles that are on the same frequency. A lot of people ask me, like, how do you know what my frequency is? How can I tell? Do I have to get a spectrometer? Do I have to get a scan and read it? And I'm like, no, because you know what your frequency is, because that is what you are currently attracting. Those are the particles in the world that are magnetized to you, because like attracts like. And this is where quantum physics comes in, because there is a process in quantum physics called quantum entanglement, which just had even more proof on the Hadron Collider in the last week or so that quantum entanglement exists. It's already been proven, but we got even more proof. And so with quantum entanglement, it essentially says that any cell, any particle can interact with any other particle anywhere in time and space. And so what that essentially alludes to is that when you're emitting particles from your body, it is attracting other like particles. And those particles exist in all kinds of ways. They exist as money, they exist as people, they exist as opportunities, they exist as ideas, they exist as businesses, they exist as creativity, they exist as other kinds of resources, books, videos, connections that you would just never be able to plan. So these particles are existing out in the world as their own individual thing. And because of quantum entanglement, when your energy goes out, and starts magnetizing, it's magnetizing those particles anywhere in time and space and drawing them to you. And so that's why it's really fascinating, because once you start to understand some of the principles that are in play here, you can actually use this information for your benefit.
Well, I just love that. My goodness, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Abi Levine in regards to the science of manifestation. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. We'll be right back after these messages from our sponsors.
Are you an author, speaker, or expert who is looking for more publicity? Visit radioguestlist.com and sign up for free interview requests from shows looking for guests. Radio Guest List is the #1 free booking resource for radio, podcasts, and TV talk shows who are looking for experts like you right now. Visit radioguestlist.com and sign up today to get the visibility you deserve.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special. When you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed, and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
It's one thing to become attached to your perfect home, but what do you do when that home becomes attached to you? A family in dire need of a fresh start, a mysterious house tied to the past. Buried deep within the foundation of the old Far Hill Manor lies a centuries-old secret. Dark forces or something stronger just waiting to be discovered. Caretaker, a supernatural thriller by breakout authors R.J. Halpert.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
I'd like to thank Jason Eastwood at Guitarfulness for sharing his inspiring music and talent with us. His music is known worldwide for cultivating atmospheres of harmony, inner peace, and clarity. Visit Jason's website at guitarfulness.com. Join his newsletter, be part of his community, and download his music. Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here today with special guest, Abi Levine, who's here sharing with us the science of manifestation. Right now, especially right now, so many people feel stuck in cycles of poverty or financial
Yeah.
struggle. So, how do you
Yeah.
help your clients break those patterns, especially when it feels like everything is working against them?
Oh, wow, that is such a great question. So one of that you touched on is so prevalent, right? And one of the things that I've noticed, especially after COVID, was there was a really big narrative in society that said that money was going to slow down. And this belief that money was going to slow down was planted really deeply into the societal belief on a global scale. And the thing is, because of the way that the brain works, and because of neuroscience, whatever your mind believes, it will create. And that is proven, not conjecture. This is not a theory. This is because your brain controls everything in your body. And now we also understand that it's controlling the particles that radiate out of you. It is absolutely going to make sure that if you think that this is the only possibility for you, it will make sure, because of a process called homeostasis, it will make sure that that is what your experience actually ends up being. And then on top of that, we have another physics principle called the observer effect. Ooh, I have to just take a second to talk about the observer effect because this is one of my favorite parts of the whole thing. The observer effect is essentially a set of studies, thousands of studies, where physicists were monitoring the behavior of protons, neutrons, and electrons. Now, every single particle in existence is made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. They're the subatomic particles that create the basis of all matter. And protons and neutrons are very predictable, but electrons are wild cards. They blip in and out of reality. They literally blip in and out of the 3D world. So sometimes they're there and sometimes they're gone, and their path is almost completely unpredictable, save one factor. What the physicists found is they could predict where and when the electron would reappear based on the observing physicist and where that physicist expected the electron to reappear. The electron would consistently reappear where the physicist who was observing it expected it to. And what that does is it actually gives us some really massive implications. Because everything is made up of partly electrons, that alludes to the idea that we can create out of nothing, because we can, simply by expecting a thing to appear, we can collapse the electrons and the protons and neutrons along with it from the quantum field into 3D reality based on our expectation that that's what's going to happen. And so there's this phrase that some people have heard of, which is whatever you focus on expands. And I would even press deeper than that. It's actually not what you focus on expands. It's what you focus on, you collapse from quantum field into 3D reality. Isn't that fascinating that your focus has so much more to do with what you're creating in your reality than you ever could have believed, than you ever could have imagined? Yes. So essentially, I actually have to help my clients in 4 different areas. One, the very first thing that we work on is nervous system regulation, because what happens if your nervous system is dysregulated, your body actually doesn't feel safe. If you don't feel safe, you are not going to take risks. You are not going to make changes. You are not going to read articles that agitate you because they're stretching you outside of your comfort zone. You are not going to do anything that stretches you outside of your comfort zone. And growth only happens outside of your comfort zone because your comfort zone is essentially staying the same. That's the bottom line of what it is. It just means nothing changes, everything stays the same. And if you're not happy with that, if you don't like status quo, then you have to make some changes. And so, but the nervous system simply won't allow you to. That's when you know that you've got nervous system dysregulation when no matter how much you rest, you wake up feeling exhausted, or your emotions feel like they're on a hair trigger. So you could feel totally fine one moment, and then something happens, and then all of a sudden, like you've been completely hijacked by anger or by anxiety or by apathy, right? Because that's sometimes we implode rather than explode. So I have to just support them with nervous system regulation. Then we move into a fun set of, we clear limiting beliefs. So we clear anything in their brain that says that they can't have what they want. And that can be done, clearing limiting beliefs. You can clear a limiting belief in 15 minutes and it will never, ever come back again. Then we have to reset their homeostasis, right? Because everybody, Gay Hendricks talks about this in The Big Leap. Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this in Becoming Superhuman and also Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. The body has a thermostat. It has an upper limit. It has a maximum threshold of good that it will allow you to have in your life. Anything outside of that threshold of good, whether it's love, money, happiness, health, whatever it is, anything outside of that threshold, the body actually perceives as life-threatening. It thinks that you making more money might actually kill you. So it goes into overdrive, using all of its defenses in order to stop you in your tracks. And so we have to actually work on resetting the homeostatic threshold, which doesn't take much time at all. And then the last thing is frequency. So I help my clients align their frequency to match the next level of what it is that they're trying to attract, right? Because if you're currently stuck around 100,000 and you've been trying all kinds of different things as a year, all kinds of different things to break through that $100,000 threshold and nothing's working, it's literally because your particles don't match the particles that are at 200,000. They are repelling each other anywhere in time and space. And so we just adjust the frequency so that it can now match particles that are being magnetized at a higher level so that they can have whatever it is that they desire that's on that next level. And I do all of that through a process that I created leaning on, kind of hundreds or thousands of years of other processes that I just kind of collected and smushed together in this process because I'm so impatient. And so I'm always looking for like the fastest, most efficient way, the way that is the least jarring, the way that you don't have to, dig through decades of trauma in order to have results. And so it's actually the most painless way that I've ever encountered to experience really, really insane changes.
Well, I understand that you were able to build a 7-figure business from scratch after abuse and homelessness and extreme poverty, and you had 6 other businesses that failed. I mean, what
Yeah,
a journey you've been. I've also heard that you can't take people where you haven't been. And
right.
are you using some special skills that others don't possess, or is this something that you train people and how to move beyond wherever they are in their lives?
I love that question. I absolutely train people and teach them the skills that they have because this is accessible to all of us. And that's the thing that I think is just so amazing. And thank you for that acknowledgement. I appreciate that recognition. It's very sweet. But that's what I love about this. And so there's lots of conjecture in the spiritual world that says things like, you already have everything you need within you. Da 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 da, right? Nobody possesses anything that you don't have. And when you don't have millions of dollars and that guy has millions of dollars, you look at that saying and you're like, well, that's not really true. You're like, I call BS on that because that guy has a lot more resources than I have. But what that phrase is talking to is that every single one of us is a human being. Because we have a brain, we can clear the beliefs that are blocking us. Because we have particles that are released through our energy, we can use cohesion and the observer effect to our benefit. Because we can choose, we can make a decision what we focus on in the morning. We can leverage the observer effect to create what it is that we want. So my practice is not designed on people being my clients in perpetuity. If that was the case, I wouldn't actually be doing my job. My job is to teach people these practices, these very simple practices that they can use by themselves, and it just takes 5 to 10, maybe 20 minutes a day, and that's it. So teach people these principles, and then hold their hand for the first few steps so that when you get blindsided by life, you have some skills of how to kind of get back to it. The challenge is not knowing what to do, right? Many times we know what to do. In this particular instance, many people don't know what to do. So it's just teaching what to do. And then once you know, there's this excitement, there's this momentum that builds, and you're like, okay, I'm on a good track. And I know that people can relate to this, especially when it comes to health or going to the gym or, doing a meditation practice on a daily basis, if that was something you wanted to implement. And when we're in momentum, an object in momentum stays in momentum. And so it feels very easy for us to keep going. The problem is when we get blindsided. Life happens, we hit our upper limit, and our body starts moving us into self-sabotage in order to protect us from making more money, which it's worried is going to kill us, right? When we get blindsided, then we start to move into cycles of defeat or shame or guilt spirals, or it just feels so much harder to do the thing, and we can't drum up the motivation or the energy. So I like to be there next to my clients to remind them of their tools, to give them some tools to overcome like some of that inertia that sets in because an object in motion stays in motion, but an object that is still stays still, right? So I just like to be there to give them that little bit of a nudge forward so they can get back into motion, and kind of, it's almost like we're role playing that a few times and then sending them off into the ether.
That sounds so empowering. It really sounds so
Thank you.
empowering. Do you have a success story you can share with us?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I'll just have to pick one. Oh, I'll pick one of my favorites. This is an outlier success story. Now I do have dozens of success stories that have a similar flavor, but many of my success stories are a lower threshold of income. I just want to, for the FTC regulations, I just want to put that out there. But this was a single mom. She was struggling to make her bills. She had a savings, but she was dipping into her savings every month, and she reached out to me because she was in real fear. She had like 6 months of runway left in her savings that she knew something needed to change because she had been trying everything. So she took a risk. She signed up for my program. Within 4 weeks, her income had doubled. So she was making $4,000. Within 4 weeks, she was making $8,000. Within another 4 weeks, she was offered a partnership. She had her own business, and she was offered a partnership at a competing company that was clearing already $1 million in revenue in sales and business a month. And so she went to work for that company, and she became a partner, and her income started increasing. She helped the company build to $7 million. And it was really amazing. By the time I saw her a couple of years later, she whispered, she's super humble. She doesn't talk about her success to anybody locally. But she whispered to me at an event that I saw, her company had just made $101 million. And it was just absolutely incredible. She told me, she'd bought some rental properties. She'd been able to donate to her church more than she used to make on a yearly basis. She'd taken her son on vacation for the first time in his 10 years, and they'd gone on several vacations, and she was showing me pictures, and it was just so beautiful. It was just a wonderful gift to be a part of that story.
What a phenomenal story that is. And my goodness, Abby, I mean, you're such just a great resource for
Thank
people to
you.
really get their life back on track. I understand you have a game that people can get also.
Yes. Yes. Well, I understand that talking about the science behind manifestation can be a little dry. And I am nothing if not like a person who loves to play while they're doing everything. Plus, adding play makes your body learn 20 times faster than just trying to do it without play. So I have a game called The Science of Manifestation, and it does a couple of fun things. So most of the time when people want to make more money, it's not because they want more designer purses or a fleet of luxury cars. Most of the time when people come to me, it's because they want freedom. They want freedom of choice. They feel so tethered by their lack of choices and so suffocated. They want ease. If things have felt hard for so long that they're really craving just for more ease in their life, they want safety. They have felt so scared about the future. They want freedom of expression. They want to know that they have reached their potential, and they want peace. And so what I've done is I've actually created a game that you can experience these states of being in an embodied way while learning about the science that can help you create that, with an explanation of when you hold this state of being, you actually attract all the resources to you that you need in order to get the money to create those states of being. So it becomes this beautiful, self-fulfilling cycle of good. And so that game is available. It's totally free. Everybody is welcome to sign up and just come and play with us.
Abby, what is your website so people can connect with you and sign up for the game?
Yes, it is abilevine.com, which is ABILEVINE.com.
Well, Abby, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It has been an absolute joy.
Well, thank you, Abby. It's been such an honor to spend this time with you and to talk about the science of manifestation. Make sure to visit Abby's website to learn more about the Science of Manifestation game at abilevine.com. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Mary Ann, where we make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Mary Ann is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Mary Ann will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmaryann.com for more information.